Just moving away from trams. Sorry, I won't say I'm obsessed with, but I've got a real passion for the idea of having a rapid transit network, and I think towns like Swindon, there's a real missed opportunity for what could have been. You know, it was a railway town. This new technology, I say new, you know, obviously it dates back certainly longer than I do. But there was an opportunity, and like most towns, Swindon ripped out its existing tram network, and we're stuck with a situation where if you want to get anywhere in Swindon, you either have to cycle, and I think we have a pretty good cycle network, drive, walk, but you know, you're missing that alternative. Yes, you can get a bus, but one of the issues with buses is that not everyone likes them. Not everyone will get on a bus. Now, there are things that we can look at, like guided bus routes, which are going to be developed in Bristol. But still, there is a psychological stigma that stops people using buses, whereas if there's a tram, they will probably get on a tram. And I think that having a tram network would be fantastic, but you know, maybe that's just my pipe dream.
Can I just pick up a little bit on that? Because I mean, there's been some studies on you know, trams, and of course they are fantastically expensive.
They don't have to be.
But they tend to be very expensive, and the rationale goes these days that rather than spend those large capital sums, you know, we could spend the same amount of money on smaller projects and have equivalent sort of modal shifts away from trams.
Oh, yeah.
So I agree that there is some people have that sort of mental block about the buses, but it's also true that if you provide better buses more frequently, a lot more people use it.
Oh, yeah.
And you mentioned the cycle network, which a lot of us here would agree is good, but
it can be better.
Well, and completely lacks any decent signposting. And you walk outside the Swindon station.
I think Marc is working on, or helping the council, I hope, to deliver a solution.
We were waiting for transport to call us, and we've suggested a solution now, which is stakeholder commissioning, and Gavin seems to like the idea. Although I did hear this morning that one of our representatives went to see Philip, and Philip said he's waiting to hear from us, whereas in fact we're waiting to be called in by Philip.
Okay. Well, Marc is involved in some way, and if we take that offline, we'll get that resolved.
Yeah.
But
can I just
you're
say
absolutely
that
right.
we've got a great cycling network within Swindon. It's okay if you want to go around in circles. So you're round and round in Swindon. So I want to go to Highworth, I get killed on the way, or I want to go out to Avebury, which is a World Heritage Site. No sign of any cycle routes out there. So, you know, we're okay. We're well and truly in our own little bubble, but there's no funding from anywhere going outside.
I didn't say it was perfect, but you're right.
I just take issue with this idea that the cycle network in Swindon is particularly good. And I think it may be compared to other towns, and it may be for experienced cyclists. It might be adequate, but personally, as a not very proficient cyclist, I don't find it at all adequate. I came with my bike yesterday, going down Drove Road, just at that point where the cycle lane evaporates and you hit a roundabout, and you've got to move across busy traffic to turn the roundabout. So, and I'm constantly finding I'm coming up against these things in the town. So I don't actually think it is that great. Not if you seriously want people to move on.
No, you're right. It's not perfect. I mean, the bits that work, I think, work very well, and the bits that don't work, we do need to look at. Again, you know, just sort of building on that, one of the most obvious things is the fact that most of the streets and roads in Holland are shared space, and actually the cyclist and the pedestrian has priority. And it's great, they can do this without having speed humps, you know, the bane of most people's lives, mine included. I hope the ad puts that in. Because they are delineated by their design. So if you come off a major road, you're immediately onto a block paved area. But you don't have pavements, you can have trees in the middle of the road, you can have cars parked in all sorts of areas. But the pedestrian and the cyclist is king, and they rule the road, and the motorists know that. And because of the block paving or sets or cobbles or whatever they use on the road surface, drivers naturally drive slowly because you get the rumble from the tyres. When it's wet, the grip surface isn't as good, and people just adjust their driving style. And again, I would love to deliver that in Swindon. One of the problems is that we have an awful lot of tarmac, and it costs a lot of money to dig it up. And actually, where they benefit in Holland is that the substrate is absolutely perfect for laying blocks or bricks.
Can I ask you about bus lanes and cycle use in London, where you go to every day? Bus lanes for taxis and buses and cycles only. Not sure that's true in Swindon, and it's a lot safer. The bus lanes are like that.
Actually, the bus lane should be for. Well, sorry, you've got motorcyclists as well.
Yeah, well, I don't really like motorcyclists.
No. But in Swindon, the bus lane should be buses, taxis. It will be private hire because they're also part of the public transport network. Cyclists, motorcyclists.
Philip, as Peter, as you've raised it, you just slipped in taxis there. When I was called to your Cllr consultation thing recently, the gentleman had the CTC's chapter and verse on the degradation of the cyclist experience when PTWs, as they use, were allowed into Swindon's bus lanes. The figure, and I'm not sure if people realise this, and this was the Cllr gentleman, roughly 150 black cabs are going to generate 850 journeys a day between 7 AM and 7 PM. They'll lobby for their own clearly identifiable usage of the bus lanes. The private hire lobby wanted to put another 22,000 car journeys per day, this is their own stats, between 7 AM and 7 PM. So that's roughly 23,000 journeys per day by cars in the bus lanes. That's taking any form of sheltered experience out. What was disturbing then when we went to Steam, to the other stakeholder event, the people that were using the advanced modelling weren't aware of the Cllr consultation. So in terms of a holistic look at Swindon's sustainable future, there appears to be some very powerful minority lobbies, because I think if all motorists were lobbied, Peter, they would turn down being left on the main place of the tarmac.
Actually,
and cars being allowed to go.
Just interrupt you. I've been saying that, you know, licensed vehicles are part of the public transport system. I've been saying that since I've had this job. And if anyone drove it through, it was me. Because what we want to look at in the future is having lanes, having HOV lanes, high occupancy vehicle lanes. Because ultimately, if you want to transport people around, the more people you can get in a single vehicle, the better. And what we also want to look at is, if we do that, where do we put the cyclists? So we then have to look at how we put additional capacity in, specifically for the cyclists and the walkers.
When you do that, please involve the cyclists, because
Absolutely.
we predate cars, so the actual structure is there for us. It's called the road. The off-road experience is one that's often well-intentioned, as is these small little lines at the side of the road. Whereas what we need is we need to educate and train people, mainly in cars. You know, highway code says you should leave 5 foot. We need 5 foot to leave the doorway.
I think you know. I think you know me that at the moment I will not do anything involving cyclists unless you guys are involved. Because at the end of the day,
you might not, Peter, but there are departments that are not involving us.
Again, we'll make sure. I mean, the leader of the council is hiding away at the back there.
2 years ago, we sat down with a box full of maps and your lead map maker. We haven't moved that one jot or tittle forward, and now we say we want to be commissioned. We get feedback to say we were waiting for you. Well, that's